Shefsky here, and welcome to Fantasy House. This is the world's #1 make-believe real estate podcast. I love doing this show because every week we get to go on a guided tour through a different person's imaginary dream home. They're always pushing the limits with mind-blowing houses and weird technologies and magic and all that cool stuff. They make weird, unique rooms. And, I ask them, I'm like, hey, could you come up with appliances and technologies that we don't even have so they can solve your very unique problems? People do that. And really it's just good old fashioned creativity and silliness. Fantasy House podcast is NSFW. It's not safe for work, although we're super Mr. Rogers inspired. It's a lot more of an adult Mr. Rogers experience. So it's raw, it's honest. We talk about sex, drugs, people's bathroom habits. Sometimes people take us to dark places, and we're all about authenticity and really reigniting that carefree, playful spirit we had when we were 4 or 5 years old. Just fearless exploring of our imaginations and ourselves. Do you remember that? I love that. I feel like we need that as adults too. And that's what I want to facilitate with Fantasy House. I want to inspire people to explore that again, get that feeling, that little fire lit inside for story time and imaginary make-believe time and just being ourselves. And it really is a great time. In Nathan Hurd's episode, he has a zero gravity room. So you just go in the room, flip a switch, and you're floating around. Jade Catapreta has a lazy river going through her fantasy house that has sexualized dolphins in it. Fifi Dosh has a private hot tub on top of a private mountain in her backyard. John and Tom from Chad Goes Deep, their fantasy house is actually a cloud that floats around like an RV in the sky. So they can go anywhere they want. Nick the plumber, he's got a live studio audience. So when he's with his family and he drops the punchline of one of his dad jokes, he gets a real applause. Joel Jimenez loves to cook, and by the way, is an amazing cook. But in Joel Jimenez's fantasy house, he doesn't want to clean up. He hates cleaning up. Loves to cook, hates cleaning up. Well, he's got a kitchen that washes itself. In episode 94, Mike Ishak's kitchen is just a portal to his aunt's Indonesian kitchen, so he can have ringdung anytime he wants, which I've never had ringdung in real life, but we had it on his episode imaginarily, and if it's anywhere as delicious as it is fun to say, it's got to be good, right? Ringdung. Jeremiah Watkins did a Halloween episode, and his toilet paper dispenser is a mummy that you just unwrap and wipe your butt with. Nat Baymel doesn't even have a bathroom. Speaking of bathrooms, he simply has a wizard that anytime you need to go, the wizard appears and just makes your bowels empty. Just abracadabra, poof. Or poop, poop, poof. So cool, right? Every episode is brought to you by me, Jon Shefsky. I am your local Southern California realtor. Not just a fantasy realtor. No, a really real realtor. And I would love to help you with anything real estate related, whether you're thinking about buying a house, selling a house, maybe you're interested in why I love multifamily apartment buildings, any of that. I would love to be of service. And if you're thinking, John, I don't care about real estate at all, that's great. But I know you know someone who does. And you got to let them know. You got to say, hey, before you go making any moves, you got to talk to my boy, Jon Shefsky. He's a really real realtor, and he would love to be of service. And I really would. And even if you're not in SoCal, I can still help you because I have a referral network all over the country with some fantastic agents, and it's growing all the time. So check in with me. Let me know, because I got agents in Nashville, in Chattanooga, Austin, Texas, Boise, Idaho, Phoenix, Arizona. I got you covered. And like I said, that list is just growing. So just think of me when you're thinking of real estate. Be like, I'm going to hit Shefsky up before I do anything. Just send me an email, fantasyhousepodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to be of service or help in any way. My guest today is a good friend for a long time in the comedy world. He's a hilarious dude. He's always made me laugh. And dude, the conversation is great with this dude because he's got a personality. He's got a punum. You want to pinch his cheeks and you want to riff with this guy. Adam Cozens is here today, and we're going to have a blasty poo. Now, in the words of the great Angelo Bowers, let us do this.
Jon Shefsky, how are you, bud?
I love your enthusiasm, dude. It makes me happy.
Should I curb it? Should I curb my enthusiasm?
Only if it's on Blu-ray and I can watch it right now, but I can't.
I don't have an HBO Max subscription, so one of us is going to have to figure out a device, going to have to unplug whatever's in your current HDMI port, put that Blu-ray player in there, and let that silver thing spin.
Dude, you're gonna have an HDMI. You're gonna have an HBO Max subscription very soon because you're getting that government check.
Oh, I'm getting my 600s. Both my kids getting 600. My wife, I've earned so much money during this pandemic. Like it's not, I mean, ultimately I've lost money, but it's like every once in a while you'll get like a little check and you're like, all right.
That's nice. But isn't it crazy how little that check is, dude? Where you're like $600. Like, I mean, it's cool and all, but it's like you're putting the country in so much debt and it's really not helping anything. It seems almost like a really bad, I wish I had an analogy for it, where when you kind of do a half-assed job, you're like, it would have been better to do nothing. Because now you wasted resources and you didn't solve any problems.
And they worked for so long to get it. Like this wasn't like a lunch meeting where they're like, what you want to do? Like this took months and months of time for them to get it figured out.
And they're so into corporate welfare. It's like you guys are totally into giving money away. It's just not to the people that would actually just put it back into the system. It blows my mind.
John, I was listening to your podcast the other day, and when you
thank you. That's one listener. Okay, let me tell Libsyn.
when you start the show up, you say like, "Hey, look at if you're looking for a home in the Southern California area, send your friend to me. Tell him." John sent you, whatever. Have you, in your day-to-day life, like, whenever you're listening to like the radio or a podcast or something, and they're like, go to, Monrovia BMW and tell them so-and-so sent you. And
Adam, wait, can you put you on hold? I actually need to put in my GPS Monrovia BMW because I'm going there as soon as we're done recording. All right, go on.
Okay. Well, have you ever done that? It's like it's so embarrassing. Like I think I did that. I think I did it one time where they're like, "Hey, go down to your local Wendy's and tell them Big Ray sent you," and they'll get I supposedly get like 10% off or something weird day. But like it's so no one knows. No one behind the counter has any idea what you're talking about. It's horrifying.
No, and first of all, it's embarrassing. Are you saying it's embarrassing for me to say that advertising for myself? Yes, but you have to get over that in order to survive in this culture. And is it something that I do in I'm like my grandfather, my Zeta, rest his soul. He was definitely a dorky guy if I've ever seen one that would interact with everyone. If you gave him the coupon and told him to go use it, he would do it. And he would say like, "Hey, my friend Frank sent me over here." And so I adopted that at a young age, and I do that. I do. And like my wife's school does like fundraising, like through like Chick-fil-A and like local restaurants and whatever else. I'm like, we order from them and we're like, this is for the blah, blah, blah. And like, they actually get like the school gets money from the order. And I'll go to a restaurant and be like, like Choco Vivo, for example, is a great little Culver City chocolatier place. And the lady who owns it actually gets her chocolate sourced from like Mexico, right? From an actual farm, and she's like, does all the tests to make sure that the chocolate's like, low on all the toxins and all the stuff that a lot of companies don't do. She like works her butt off for this, right? And this is like her big dream is having this company. Well, like I called the other day just to see.
I want to be a chocolatier.
Oh, dude, it's so rad.
You've just changed me.
Dude, it's so rad.
36 into life, 15 years into whatever career you want to call this.
Now you're a chocolatier.
It's one of those professions that you don't actually think anyone does it. You just think chocolate just appears.
That's modern society. Yeah. Everything just comes to me, dude. Like no one has to do anything for this. Like
now I recognize there is actually somebody out there in the Willy Wonka world, and I'd like to change everything.
Oh,
that's my new career path.
I would have like a problem really bad if I was working around like high quality chocolate because I am just like insanely addicted to good chocolate. But as long as you just stay in chocolatier, if you go into chocolatierism, then it's very difficult to fly. You go on the lists, and anyways,
is a chocolatier similar to like a planeteer, like a superhero type who flies around and throws chocolate at people?
Oh, dude, a chocolatier is what I cry when I eat the perfect blend of 70% cacao, 30% chocolate sugar. A chocolatier drop tattoo. It did not help me stay safe in the penitentiary.
I killed an Oompa Loompa and I only got this chocolatier drop.
I worked for Nestle. I was a hitman. Anyways, yeah, dude.
I roam the Hershey Parks.
But dude, I called the other day. I called the store because I get her emails, and I read her email, and she said that she got robbed. Like someone broke into the Choco Vivo, like her store, and robbed her, and she was like pretty much like emotionally drained from like, you know, going through all this stuff with the pandemic and taking the financial hit, and then she gets robbed, which is just disgusting and so sad. But I called, and she answered, and she didn't used to always be there. She was busy like trying to build the business in the background, and there was people there, but she was there this time, and I was like, Patricia? And she's like, yeah, who's calling? And I ended up talking to her for like an hour. We just talked about life and politics and chocolate on the phone. And I was like, I don't know if you remember me. And of course she didn't remember me. And I was like, do you remember my friend Kamel? He used to bring me and my wife in there. And he's the fancy boy who always would discover the restaurants and take us there. And I loved like letting her know, like, dude, yeah, like we used to go in all the time. You were barely there when we were there, and so I am kind of like, I did adopt my grandpa's like, tell him Shefsky sent you. I will say like, hey, Shefsky sent you. Like I am that dork. So I don't know how many people actually do that, but as far as from me saying that on my podcast, dude, I get referrals. Like a lot of my businesses from people being like, hey, you got to hit up my buddy Shefsky. So it is worthwhile, but yeah, you have to swallow that pride of being like, I'm not a total dork. I'm a dork.
Your side is correct. What you're doing, say, hey, tell him, John, that is fine. It's me, the consumer, who's trying to save 10% and has to walk up to the Arby's employee saying, I heard if I said Adam Carolla sent me, I get 10%. And they're like, who's Adam Carolla? And I was like, I'm sorry, I should have come here today.
He's a great comedian who's very bitter, but, he's very funny, but he's not wearing masks. I'll tell you that much. Anyways, no, but... yeah, dude. I mean, I don't feel bad that you're not going to get your 10% discount at Arby's.
Okay,
but it's totally
Arby's. We're roughly the same age, I believe. Did you
46? Me too.
Yep. Did you know
25?
Okay, so Arby's. You know how Arby's, their name is Arby's, ARBYS. Mm-hmm. And they used to have a slogan. They used to have a slogan that said, Arby's, we stand for roast beef. And I'm like, that's a stupid slogan. And then like about a year ago.
That's not very patriotic, by the way. I'm very offended. My flag is crying at chocolate tears right now for my flag. That's what you stand for? You'll stand for not the Pledge of Allegiance for a roast beef sandwich?
But roast beef, literally, Arby's, their name is R, like phonetically, R and B, Arby's, roast beef.
Oh, whoa, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, it's like some Matrixy, like Inception type name there. And I thought I was real cool. And I told my mom about that, and she shamed me. She's like, how'd you not know that? I'm like, well, I didn't grow up going to Arby's every day. So,
I didn't know that. I wonder how many of our listeners didn't know that. No, you just enlightened us. That's super clever.
Can you name this episode Learning More About Arby's with Adam Cozens?
Yeah. This is a very special episode of Fantasy House. We're just actually learning more about Arby's.
We're branding Arby's.
Oh, dude. Well, I like that clever stuff. That's really cool. And, of course you can bring that into conspiracy theory, but it's also just really fun, good marketing and like psychology of like, hey, let's get clever. You smoke, you get these Madison Avenue dudes and chicks, they smoke a joint and sit down at the drawing board, and they do come up with weird, like if you look at really good logos, they'll be like, whoa, did you see what's in that logo? Like this number and that sign. And then like, it's really clever, some of the stuff they do.
Yeah, you'll see some Masonic imagery in there.
Oh yeah, dude.
Maybe a Jesus fish and a Toyota logo. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there. Keep your eyes open, man.
Oh, dude, there is some funny.
Get woke, man. Take your blindfold off. The great distraction that is the NFL is over.
Dude. But be careful, man. You can easily jump from one matrix into just another matrix. Be careful. I'm just letting you know. I used to listen to this one conspiracy podcast, and the guy was always talking about, I was like, dude, so many people are in the second matrix. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't keep up with this stuff.
Hey, bro, don't even worry about it. You don't need to keep up because this is just a simulation. Somebody is up there and he's moving me around, and he is whoever is running my simulation, by the way, he must be very bored. Like he has not done a lot recently with me, and it's like when you have like a gigapet or a Tamagotchi, depending on your level of income as a child, you realize like you have it, you're really excited about it, and then you eventually lose interest with it. I believe the person running my life up above, not God. I'm not going to bring God into this, but if there was like if there's like someone in a simulation type situation, he's over me. He's moved on. He's got a new toy, and he's just kind of letting my batteries run down.
Dude, your PlayStation controller is just sitting there on some shelf in some alternate dimension, some weird high-tech shelf. There was a guy that had a theory that was saying like that it is entirely possible that he's talking about simulation theory, and he was saying it's entirely possible that we are just a young being in some alternate realms creation, and some of the things that we think of in our world are like, you could say like, oh, you could see like a 14 or 15-year-old human kid would come up with some of these silly things that we do, and some of the torturous, weird, like non-empathetic things that we do, or you're like, yeah, maybe some being in some other realm is doing that. I like Nick Bostrom's thing where he talks about like, he's like, I don't believe in it myself, and I'm doing my own accent because Nick Bostrom has like a Swedish or some sort of European accent. I guess he wasn't Swedish because it doesn't sound like that at all. Here's how I feel about simulation theory. No, he's got just more
of how all of our impressions of Swedish are just Swedish Chef based.
Oh, they're like, that was the Muppets. I'm Swedish and I don't talk like this.
I've never met a real Swede, so I have no idea what they're like.
And I've met a Muppet, and they do talk like that. But yeah,
you remember when Amy Poehler's brother, Greg Poehler, he had a show on NBC very briefly, and it was just called Welcome to Sweden, and it was a show shot in Sweden, and it was just about him moving to Sweden.
No, I didn't even know that. That sounds actually kind of fun. Welcome to Sweden.
It was just like he was just living. As far as I can tell, Amy had a lot of pull at NBC at the time after Parks and Rec, and she's like, "Hey, my brother wants to do a show where he lives in Sweden," and they're like, "All right," because there wasn't much of a plot to it, from what I remember. It's just a guy living in Sweden.
I mean, the stuff they're willing to take risks on, and I'm sure at certain times they're like, it's just the cost of doing business. Yes, the show's greenlit. Now, Amy, would you please be in this, and this?
I'm looking at the producers. They all have those crazy umlauts over the vowels in their name. So it's very Swedish in nature. Welcome to Sweden. It came out in July 2015. And 4 episodes into season 2. So, made the season 2. NBC canceled the series due to what Poehler described as craptastically low ratings.
Craptastically low ratings. Oh,
that's from the star and producer. So I'll let him say it.
Does he do anything else now, or is he like he still working?
I don't know anything about Greg Poehler, unfortunately.
Because I've known a few like nepotism recipients that once their one thing doesn't work out, they're just kind of distracted because there's something about being hungry because you need to pay your bills that some of us are just like, no, I have to make this work. And other people that are like, I don't know, maybe I'll be a painter or something.
I'm a big fan of like the nepotism. Or it's not nepotism, but it's like, famous siblings that you don't actually, that they don't make a big deal about it. Like, unless you were in the know, you would know. Like Ellen DeGeneres, her brother was an SNL writer who created Mr. Bob, and
you mean Mr. Bill?
Mr. Bill, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was like, Mr. Bob, I don't know that one.
Yeah, and he was like on the Daily Show correspondent for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But they never make a big deal about it. But like Vance DeGeneres and Ellen DeGeneres, he was like her older brother. Yeah, and it's like they're both from New Orleans. It wasn't like this celebrity showbiz family. And they both carved out very different career paths in comedy entertainment. And I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's rad. I mean, if you and your siblings both have, a lot of times if you are good at one of those things, it's because you spent time, riffing and roasting back and forth, or
just sitting in the basement, just riffing on each other.
Oh yeah, just riffing.
Just say, hey, your mom's fat, and you're like, that's your mom too.
It's actually yeah, your mom jokes.
Roasting can you do in a family? I guess you could do a lot.
Oh, dude, my brother to this day is just like deadpan, makes fun of me and brings up stuff from like when I was like 20 to this day. How many
siblings do you have?
One brother, and he roasts me every time we hang out or talk about anything. If I ask him a question, he just kind of like he's a smart engineer type. So he just rolls his eyes and just goes like, well, maybe it's because everything's just a big weird equation, right? And I'm like, I was like 20 when I said that. Why? Why do you have to say this in front of my children? Like, he's like making fun of me about how the water heater works. And I was just like, well, it makes sense that it would work like this. He's like, oh, why? Because it's like a big equation. And I was just like, motherfucker, I was having an epiphany, 20 years ago. And I felt comfortable. I felt good being vulnerable and sharing the epiphany with you. And now you're making fun of me. And guess what, motherfucker? Everything is just a weird equation, bro.
Epiphany Amber Thiessen.
Mm-hmm. And I said, what about this certain epiphany.
Are you singing Deep Blue Something on this podcast?
Is that what that is? That song?
That is the name of the band. No, the band is named Deep Blue Something. The song is Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is a movie that I was like, I thought this would be a lot more interesting.
I've never seen it. It's one of those, it's been around forever. I feel like I should probably have seen it at this point, but I haven't, and I don't think I will.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if you feel like you have to see it because you're a film lover, sure. Yeah, I was
Filmophile. What's it called? What's a film lover name?
Is anyone else thinking they can't, like, when they say autophile and filmophile? Is like, if I hear file, I'm immediately like, oh, you got a kid molester over here?
We got to
get the fuck out of here. Yeah, the file thing just does not work.
You know what? And we don't like to let the terrorists win. We don't like to let the worst party. We don't want to subject, like, oh, sorry, they took file. You can't do. They took. He took the really tiny mustache in the middle of your nose. We can't do that anymore. But at a certain point, you also have to be like, yeah, I don't want to go by file anymore. File's done. It's been wasted. We can't do the mustache anymore. We can't do the file. Red hats are out. There's a lot of things you just can't. Oh, dude. You can't do it anymore.
Red hats are out, you said, because of the MAGA hat?
Red hats are out.
Hey, by the way, did you hear that one of his, like, nuclear passwords was MAGA 2020? My dad just told me that, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I don't know if it's true or if it was just like an internet meme rumor, but my dad's usually up on a lot of that stuff. And I was like, is it that bad? Is it that 14-year-old level intellect? I was like, good Lord. Which, by the way, I'm getting a red hat. I'm getting a red hat with the Biden logo on it. I think it would be funny to wear to parties. Mm-hmm. And, from far away, maybe I will have some things thrown at me if I walk through the wrong neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But up close,
they'll just think you're a Phillies fan if you just wear a red hat around.
Right?
Because there's a lot. The Angels have a red hat.
Yep.
The Phillies have a red hat.
But I'm talking about with white writing in the exact same font. But yes.
Okay. So like the Cardinals then. Okay, the Cardinals then.
Oh, that's actually a great point.
If I ever run for a political office, I'm just going to find an existing hat and just make, like, yeah, we're all Seattle Mariners fans now. I was able to buy these in bulk, and I don't have to produce them now. Just everyone, if you're a fan of me, just wear the Mariners hat. They're like, all right.
That's a great idea too. The Mariners have great. I love their colors. I love anything with teal in it.
Teal is teal's an all-time favorite color.
It was one of my bar mitzvah colors, teal.
Tell me about your bar mitzvah.
Okay, I'm going to lay down on a leather couch right now and start talking. So I was 12 when the studying really began to get heavy. Bar mitzvah, I had my colors was teal, silver, and black. So I had teal and silver and black balloons.
That's a good look. That's San Jose Sharks.
Oh man, I was such a dork, and I love military aircraft. So I built little models for table centerpieces. So I had little fighter jets and bombers and helicopters and all that stuff that I had built, like nice little models on the center of the tables. And it was really fun. It felt really good. I think my dad, even who's not religious at all, was even just emotional just seeing us get through that day and being like, oh, you're growing up. Like, I think that was really big, seeing my dad be not just stoic and quiet, but stoic but emotional and quiet was kind of a nice thing.
Oh, okay.
And my parents said, because I hated studying for it, they said after I was done with that, I didn't have to do anything else with temple ever again. And they thought that I would get over that, but I was like, all right, cool. So after my bar mitzvah, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going back inside one of those things again. And of course I have many times since, for family events and whatever else. But bar mitzvah was great.
My family's pretty religious, but my dad, he never loved going to church. It was just he didn't like, he's a believer, but he doesn't like the routine of it all. Yeah. And there's this, when I was in high school, there was a very minor miscommunication at our church about a scholarship or something weird. And he was just like, never going back there again. Just okay, there's your excuse. He was looking for something and he decided
just looking for it.
This is it. All right, I'm out.
Oh, that's funny. Did you have, I mean, obviously, so if you didn't have a bar mitzvah, did you have any kind of like communion kind of thing or any kind of coming of age event?
Yeah. I was confirmed into the church, is what it's called. You go through a confirmation class series where you study like the Torah, Old Testament, some New Testament, or as I used to call it, Torah 2. And
the return of the Torah.
You know, I was actually thinking about this the other day, and this is somewhat related to what we're talking about here, but about how like the Bible, you know, Old New Testament, like generally when you're making a movie, when you're writing a book, you kind of you peak towards the end of the book. Yeah. Well, like, you know, Jesus, his debut, his return, his ascent back into heaven, you know, it's kind of 3/4 of the way through the book. Like they probably should have saved that one. That was my thought. But we do a confirmation class where you learn a lot, and I think if I remember correctly, you got to remember all the books of the Bible in the order, and I'm sure there's some other stuff.
So what you're saying is you forgot most of the stuff you learned, just like high school. Okay,
I was like 13, I think, at the time.
Oh yeah, dude.
And then I was baptized, but it was more like a commitment by my parents into the church when I was like a newborn. Yeah. And then I actually asked to be baptized again as a teenager, and they're like, "Nah, we already did that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but that was like more for my parents." And they're like, "Yeah, well, dude, nah." I was like, "But wait, I want to make a personal commitment here in front of my church." Like, "Nah, you're good." And they wouldn't do it.
And you're just like, "What is? Is there some sort of? Is there a resource that costs a lot to do this, or like, can you just?"
As far as I can tell, it's a very small amount of water.
Yeah.
Are we doing that badly? Do you need more? You need more income here? I know you're a tax.
Is it an insurance thing? Is that what it is? Is that what?
I know I'm a large guy. Are you nervous that you're going to dunk me down and you won't be able to pull me back out of the water? Because I can swim. If this is a problem, I'll help you out.
I'm going to get a red hat that says "Make Adams Church baptize him again."
That would be a fun campaign. You know, it's got new leadership. The old pastoral staff is all passed on. Unfortunately, they're great family there. But if
my rabbi that bar mitzvahed me passed away too. Yeah,
maybe I'll petition to get baptized there.
Yeah, I'll wear that. I'll wear that hat to the church to let them know, like, I am here in support. This is my guy. Get this. In fact, you and I, we could start a whole business of just like make blank again. And we could just make those hats for anything that anyone wants, dude.
Now you got to be careful with that, because I don't know who owns the copyright on "great again" or whatever again. Because it's like those
you could get sued for using the word "great again."
Maybe, I don't know. Here's
what a country!
I remember I probably learned this about like 10 or 12 years ago or something, is that Cedric the Entertainer, because I knew you knew I was going here. He owns the phrase "blanks of comedy." And because he did original Kings of Comedy. Yeah. And he owns just the phrase "blanks of comedy."
I didn't even know this was possible.
I know. And he will not call you out on it if you start to use it, but he will take note of it. And he will wait until you're actually out there making money, and then he'll call it in. And so there used to be Eric Andre, Marina Franklin, and I think Hannibal Buress and Victor Vernado. They had a group called the Awkward Kings of Comedy. And right before they were going to premiere, I think on Comedy Central, they changed it to the Awkward Comedy Show, because if they had gone out with it being the Awkward Kings of Comedy, then Cedric would have filed a claim and would have gotten a lot of their money. So there's a lot of people out there who go by like, "Oh, we're the Latin Kings of Comedy. We're the Masonic Kings of Comedy," or whatever. And Cedric,
the Masonic Kings of Comedy. I would love to see that.
As of like 15 years ago, Cedric was eating off all of that. So.
Man, that's so interesting. I don't know if I respect that if he came up with something to like, patent it. But at the same time, it's like, well, that's just like such a simple phrase that like is so variable. Everyone uses it, and it's going to make watching Madagascar like a lot more difficult next time, knowing that Cedric's.
You know what? Put a huge asterisk by this podcast just in case that story's not even close to true. But I heard it from a verifiable source. Somebody.
What if Cedric hears this and then says, "I'm going to actually have to charge you to make the podcast because you said my term"? And I was like,
"You
really?
said of comedy about 100 times."
Like there's some sort of copyright is like software on our phones and computers where it's like, "You're getting charged for saying that." Like right now? Oh yeah, that that's copyrighted. Like, I'm not allowed to say those words. Oh,
I can't just say of comedy.
Free market techno capitalism, baby. You guys are just too poor. Do you want to be able to say what you want? You need to make more money.
You need to start. You need to start like Outfield Comedy and just abbreviate it like it's OF Comedy. No, we're not one of the of comedies. It's just we're technically we're of comedy, but we're not like of comedy. It's capital letters. Come on, give us a break, Cedric.
I just want my Fantasy House listeners to know that if you're interested, I'm starting a Zoom show with Adam next week called The Litigious People That Have Plenty of Money That They've Already Made Off Comedy, but are planning on making even more money off of comedy. People of Comedy show. It's $25 a head, and we're going to Zoom it out there. And 24 of those dollars goes towards our legal defense team.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, Adam. Ask, and we shall receive. I'm hoping. I hope so. Dude, what's your favorite? The question that we picked on there was, what's your favorite thing about being alive?
Okay, so this probably a little controversial one because I don't think everybody agrees with me on this.
They're not supposed to.
I love that we can reset ourselves as much as we need. And there's some people who are like, man, I wish life was like a video game where you could like, you something's going wrong, you can just restart the level. Yeah. It's like, but I feel like to a certain extent we do have that ability as people. It's like we make decisions, sometimes we make bad ones, but very rarely, knock on wood, do we make decisions on a daily basis that will have a lasting impact on our entire life. Like we have the opportunity for grace and to learn from mistakes and to grow as human beings. And I know, nowadays, especially with everyone, being so connected worldwide, if you make a huge mistake, it can travel farther and faster. But I think we've also seen in like the last couple of years is that you might be the news story of the day, but that stuff goes away. And you get the opportunity to, to use a religious phrase, be born again and to start your level over again. And I think that's beautiful. And I think people get way too hard on themselves when they make a mistake. And I think it's one of the amazing things about being a person is that you can just, if things, you can try again. You're not locked into the mistakes you've made early in life or later in life or yesterday in life. Like you have the chance to start over every single day. And I just think I think it's great. And I wish more people would take advantage of that awesome opportunity.
I really like that, man. And how if you don't mind getting personal, asking what was the most recent time that you did a major overhaul? I'm sure you could say we do it every day, but.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if I can think of a major off the top of my head. Okay. But I can, just the other night, like my wife and I just, we have a newborn and none of us are getting any sleep and it's the holidays. We're all in quarantine. And so we're not getting the help that we need with our newborn. Yeah. And so it's just a lot of tensions in the home. And it's just, I love her. She loves me. Like we have a great marriage, but just it's more tense than it usually is.
Oh yeah,
and nothing terribly is happening. We're just exhausted. And just we could have had like a if we wanted to, we could have had a 3-month fight. Oh yeah. Instead, it's like what? Let's just go to bed. And tomorrow we'll probably give some side eyes to each other for a little bit. And then, but by the afternoon, things will be good. And sure enough, it was. And I just thought that was, that's one of those things. You can let little things fester into becoming huge things, or, you can just drop it. I think one of the best things I've learned in life is to just say sorry, just swallow pride, even if you don't think you're wrong all the time. Like I used to really get hung up on that. And I used to fight way too hard for but I was right. And, there are certain things you can dig your heels into. But there's some things where it's like, this isn't a big, I'm not talking about my wife. This is just relationships in general. Yeah. This isn't a big enough thing that I need to, destroy a friendship over. This is something that I'm like, okay, well, I don't, necessarily agree with that, but I love you. And I'm not willing to tank our whole friendship over this.
That's great.
So I'm sorry. Just move on. And people forget. People move on.
I think that's great. And I think it's not like you're burying resentment and anger and not being upfront about it, you internally are moving on. And there's a big difference there. Like, it's like when people say, like, don't get angry over stuff, like, well, then you're going to bury the anger. It's like, no, you can like acknowledge that you don't like it, but then also have a conversation with yourself internally and go, I'm releasing this. It's not that important. And right. So you're doing the same thing with your partner. Releasing that stuff and moving on. And Ralph used to always say, you can be right or you can be angry. And I was like, no, it wasn't. You could be right or you could be. It was
like, that doesn't sound right.
It was you could be right or you could be happy. I'm trying to do a Ralphie voice, but he had a really hard voice to emulate unless you're like a black Southern lady. So it's very hard to do a Ralphie. But yeah.
There have been many times where I've gotten into like arguments with like significant people in my life, like whether it's parents or, best friends or my wife or whoever it was. And, I see, I'm not saying I'm right, but I see it from a different point of view than they do.
Yeah.
And I could 100% dig my heels in and make this argument, and maybe write it out till the day I die. But they're not going to come around, and I'm not going to come around their way. So it's like, this maybe just isn't a subject we're going to talk about. And whether it's and that's fine. That's fine. You don't need to be the master of everybody's opinions.
And letting it go and realizing that you have a better friendship. We were riffing on, I don't know if we were recording or not, we were riffing on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. And dude, there's actually a line that's always stuck with me. Richard Lewis and Larry David are arguing about something, and he says, forget about it. You know what? Richard Lewis goes, we got enough in the bank. We got enough in the bank. And he's just saying, like, we've got enough good stuff that we can just let this thing be water under the bridge. Like, I don't even want to argue about it anymore. It's like, you made a mistake. I made a mistake. Who cares? We got enough.
Isn't he just the best? Isn't Richard Lewis like?
Oh, dude, so awesome.
He was one of the reasons I got into comedy in the first place. Is I just loved him, and like now as like whatever 15 years in the comedy industry, I look back on his stuff and I'm like, it's pretty funny. Not a lot of good jokes there, but like him as like a human being, he's just a naturally funny person, and like his acting is funny. Everything he does is funny. But like I remember, seeing him on Curb, seeing him in Robin Hood Men in Tights, seeing the show Anything But Love. Like he was just one of those guys who, like, I was like, that is, I guess the way I would say it is like, that is like a cool guy. And I'm not like really into like cool guy, leather jacket, muscle bound comedy type, that kind of stuff.
You're not?
But
then you're gonna hate my new hat. Make comedy muscle guy cool guy again. It's for sale.
But like something about him was like, this guy, he's owning his insecurities and he's just so funny about it. And I love Richard Lewis. I still do. I don't even say loved. He's still with us. Thank goodness.
Oh yeah, he is. He is still,
and he shouldn't be. If you ever read his book, he should not still be here. But he still is.
Well, he's in Hollywood drinking that baby blood, so he's going to live for many thousands of reptilian years.
Let me know the address. I will send him baby blood whenever he needs it.
Oh, dude. Let's go to your fantasy house. What's the geographic location?
Sweet fantasy house.
A fantasy house. Sweet fantasy house. Sweet fantasy house.
All right, so here's where I'm going. I have this, my wife and I have this plan. If things ever, go our way and we can afford a bunch of places, we're never going to have like the super mansion. Like we're going to have a series of reasonable homes around the world. But I'm going to start things off in Park City, Utah, which is a place that I've only been a handful of times. It's always when I've been going out to Utah to perform stand-up. I'm for those who don't know me very well, I'm a fairly clean comic, and I get a lot of work in Utah. And so I go out there roughly once or twice a year. And whenever I'm in the general Salt Lake area, I will try to drive up to Park City. I'm not a big skier. I'm not a big snowboarder like you, John. But I skied I skied for the first time at Mammoth just earlier this year, right before the world shut down. It was late February that I went up there. So, which we now know that it was in the States at the time, but we didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
And it was, John, it was beautiful. It was lovely. I've been told by those I skied with that I am very fast.
It's awesome. Your first...
but I don't stop. and I should not be going as fast as I do. I get, it's the whatever is it, the hot dog pizza, or French fries.
French fries pizza.
I can get those French fries, but like bring it together in the pizza, I just couldn't get. And I would go so amazingly fast, and then I would just have to throw myself on the ground in order to stop. And it happened a great many times. I actually have some very, very light scars in my leg from the boots, pushing into my thick socks, which pushed into my skin. I have some marks there.
That is so awesome and hilarious.
But yeah, I had a great time. It was wonderful. And so but I do love being in the snow. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. And I think snow is great. Cold weather is great. I love being in LA. But I think I would really like Park City because you get the cold, but then you also get really nice springs and summers. I think Utah is a beautiful state. It's the air is really crisp and clean. You have a world-class airport that they built for the Olympics in '98. It's in need of a redo, but they're redoing it anyway. But at one time, it was pretty sweet. So downtown Salt Lake City is not too far away, probably like 45 minutes. So you get a big city feel if you want to head into town, if you want to go to a comedy club, you want to work, or you can, stay in your beautiful little mountain town.
I love that about Utah. I love how close you are and stuff. And then you're like, and just right back there is this amazing world-class ski resort.
Yeah. It's just great. Yeah. There's really good coffee up there. I'm a big coffee drinker. A lot of good coffee up in there. Now alcohol, if I enjoy alcohol, and that is a little bit harder to get in Utah. It's quite watered down, and when you do get it, you have to. Many places you have to order it with food.
Yeah, very interesting.
I went into a bar one time trying to just order a beer after a show, and they said we can't just serve you a beer. You have to order a food item. And they gave me
I love that excuse. Yes, sir. I guess I'll have to get a corn dog, some fries.
They were teaching me about it. You can just order a piece of pie. We can put it into go bag or whatever you need, but you technically have to order it. And then I also looked up this other thing. There's this thing called. I'm going to butcher it. I kind of want to look it up really quick. I think it's called Zion's Wall.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm not going to find it in time. But it's called either Zion's Wall or something similar to that.
Okay.
And it was a rule. I thought it had been around for 100 years, but it actually only came around probably in the mid 2010s, 2012, 2000.
You were all telling people, this is an ancient thing we're talking about here. It's from after September 11th. It's not that old.
Yeah. Where if you work at a restaurant, you cannot pour alcohol in front of people. You have to, so every bar and every restaurant, they created, this was a law that was around for about 6 or 7 years. I hear it's gone now. But there's a barrier that hey, can I have a beer? Sure. And they go behind the wall and they pour it. So you can't negatively influence people by showing them how to create alcoholic drinks. Also, they also say it decreases binge drinking because the bartender, they can't just hand you a drink across the bar. They physically have to walk around the bar and hand it to you.
Oh, it's like a waiting period for your firearms. You're like, it helps.
They just can't be give me another one. The bartender has to walk around.
Right after my protocol, sir.
So anyway, so that's the bad thing, I would say. The Zion Curtain is what it's called. I'll send, you guys can look it up.
Zion Curtain.
Zion Curtain. It's very interesting to me. I would say that would be the biggest downside to Utah would just be the alcohol. But I think I can survive. If that's a big enough problem for me to move somewhere, I have bigger problems in my life. Park City, Utah. I would love a place there. It doesn't have to be super fancy. I want it to be enough that it can entertain some friends because I'm going to be inviting people into town. I want them to come hang out. I want them to ski. I will be sitting in my lovely chateau with a nice coffee looking out the window as the snow falls down while they're all hitting the slopes. So I want a nice fireplace. It just sounds so nice to me.
It's like a TV show with just a really bad arc. You're I'll watch you guys ski.
Yeah, I want it to be like an A-frame.
Cool.
I want it so I don't know a ton about architecture, but I'm thinking I kind of want like a forest. I was thinking forest green, but then that's going to blend in too much with the trees up there. So maybe like a nice blue A-frame house like with some like white or silver trim on it. It'll have a front and a backyard, but it's also, it's going to flow right into the snow path. Like it's the back, you pull into the back, and it's got like a little gravelly road that you drive down, and the back door leads into the house. And if you go out the front door, you're on the slopes essentially. Like it's a drive up place. There'll probably be a hot tub somewhere around it, but that's not it. But I just can picture it very well in my head.
Yeah.
There's great. Like a jacuzzi on one side, or a sauna, how to describe it. I call it hot tub. What's the difference between a jacuzzi, a hot tub, and a sauna, by the way?
So a hot tub and a jacuzzi, as far as I understand, are the same things. A sauna is totally different. A sauna.
That's the hot room. That's the room.
That's one way to call it. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I go in the hot room? You mean the sauna? Yeah, the hot room.
I remember at the YMCA that I went to growing up having a sauna, and I was terrified of it because it just seemed like you could shut the door and you'd never get out. It would just be it was like a nightmare room.
I love saunas. Dude, saunas are amazing. So there's like dry saunas and steam saunas. There's electromagnetic frequency saunas. There's traditional like hot rock, whatever they do to do the dry saunas. So there's different things, but you're going in there for like extreme levels of heat and sometimes humidity.
Okay. All right. So no sauna. Take that out. But I would like an outdoor jacuzzi.
So it's great for nature like that too in Utah. Like so right under the stars.
And it's all cold outside, but you're warm in there. That would sound wonderful.
It is so nice.
Love that.
I love that too. And that's so great. Okay, so we'd be sitting in there. So like we're like, you're like, welcome to my fantasy house, and like that's the first thing that we're doing the film.
Yeah, if you show up to my fantasy house, I will already be in the jacuzzi.
Okay, so that's how you greet us on this episode. And then I snuck into the state like a big thing of what do you call it, of whiskey for us to drink.
Yeah.
We're drinking whiskey in the hot tub right now. Okay, that's awesome.
It's great. There's people skiboarding by us. They're waving. I'm not a big smoker, but maybe I'll have a cigar just because I think it looks so cool. I don't think it's going. Again, I will have to have a certain level of wealth to achieve this to begin with. So let's go crazy. I'm going to have some help. They're going to be making us meals while we're there.
What are they making us? What are we going to eat? Take us into that kitchen show.
I'm thinking, what's a good cold weather meal? I'm thinking maybe like fettuccine Alfredo. I think it's going to be like a chicken fettuccine. Yes. And they're making it big long noodles, white sauce, all that stuff. And you can smell the grill from inside, and once you're outside and you're sitting there. And I don't want to eat. Let's be honest. I don't want to eat it in the jacuzzi. That's going to get weird.
That makes one of us. But yes, go on.
Okay, you can eat it. I'm going to let you eat in the jacuzzi, but I'm going to hop out.
Fettuccine Alfredo in a jacuzzi just sounds like you just point at people like, that's my gluttonous, insane friend John. And I'm just like, oh, this is so good. Why are you getting out of the jacuzzi? Trust me, this is where you want to eat it.
But I'm going inside. I'm going into the dining room.
Okay.
I've got a big wooden table, John. It seats. I mean, I don't know what big is to you, but this guy seats 16.
Oh yeah. That's great.
And there's a head of the table, but I don't want anyone to sit there. I don't want anyone to feel like this is like there's some dominant person here. We're all sitting on the sides.
Okay.
And there's, maybe on the ends of the table, that's where like the trays of food can go, because I don't want anyone thinking this guy's the boss, whatever, it's like, it's my house. Okay. All right. We're all equal.
All right, that's beautiful.
There might be, I love my kids, but they might need their own table. I don't know if they're all going to be sitting at the table for this meal.
Is it like a mini wood table? Like, hey, you guys, go. Here's the kids' table. It's just like the adult one. It's a miniature.
Yeah, there's a kids' table there. And the kitchen, I don't mind the kitchen being close. Some people like the kitchen separated, like its own room. It's got like its own, Zion curtain separating the people dining from the making. I want it to flow right into the kitchen. I don't want I don't want the table in the kitchen, but I want it. You can see the kitchen from the table. And I may live to regret this, but if I'm designing this house, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, that's great.
So people can walk in and out. You can see, oh, okay, cool. They're prepping the next course or whatever it's going to be, which I don't know what the next course is.
I was just going to say, what is that? So we're going to get
you can't start with fettuccine Alfredo and then move to another course. I don't know. We'll have pumpkin pie or something. I don't know.
Oh, dude, it sounds like I'm going to need some Pepsid AC and some a few hours in your bathroom. You're like, all right, fettuccine Alfredo followed up by pumpkin pie. And then, what happens to me after I have my sweets? I go, hey, I just want a little bit more of the main course again. And then I'll have fettuccine on top of that. So it would be pretty insane.
Yeah, I get you. So all right, we're done eating. We got to move around a little bit, John.
Yeah, take us.
You showed up. You got in the jacuzzi. We've been quite lethargic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just ate a big meal, so we're going to walk around. This is a 2-floor A-frame. We're not getting too crazy. And upstairs, it sleeps downstairs. There's 2 bedrooms downstairs and one. Let's say there's 2 upstairs.
Okay.
And so I was originally just going to put 1 upstairs, but I wanted to be able to accommodate more people than that. Okay. So there, in each room, it's like 2 twin beds on the upstairs for the guests. I got some money. Queen beds, 2 queen beds upstairs.
Yeah.
And then downstairs, the master bedroom is going to be a king bed, of course. Naturally, I'm a big guy. And yeah, I can't really think of the other room. It's going to have a pull-out couch. People, they'll enjoy it. They'll be grateful to be put up. I don't need to give them the whole rigmarole, but they'll enjoy it. And then when they're not there, I can use it as an office.
I love that even in a fantasy world, your practicality of like, they're still going to have a pull-out couch. Like in a fantasy world, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like they'll like it. I don't. And it's when there's more people around. What's great is there's in the same, not too far away from the dining room, there's going to be like a nice entertaining room. It's got some TVs, got some couches around there. When there's a lot of people over, some people are going to be on those couches. Okay, like I don't have rooms for everybody. But
yeah, I mean, if you're serving a fettuccine Alfredo, though, I mean, like any couch is actually just a California king. You know what I mean? Like no matter
they'll be dining. They'll be falling asleep on the couch.
You can lay on the floor and fall asleep.
Exhausted from skiing. So
totally,
they gotta sleep somewhere.
Totally. What's playing on that TV? You mentioned there's a TV there. What are we watching on there?
We're watching Catch Me If You Can. It's a fine movie. I think it's a Christmas film, if you want to be honest. All the scenes take place around the holidays.
I've never seen that movie, and I know it just came out 12 or 13 years ago, but I definitely
this is a recent addition to the collection. We're watching Catch Me If You Can. When dessert is on. I don't want the TV to be on during dinner, but I don't mind some people throwing it on when we're on the slopes or when we're just hanging out. Just having a good time. Throw on the TV. Why not? Like this doesn't have to be like we're gonna have some pretty adult conversation. We're talking investing. Okay, that's where I made my money. We're gonna be talking about past life experiences that brought us to this point. The kids don't need to be around for this. Watch your Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio heist thriller.
Is there music playing in the background while we're talking about all these deep subjects?
Just the Catch Me If You Can theme. Just like we're gonna have the soundtrack looped.
Okay.
No, you know what we'll be listening to? We got a little Natalie Merchant. We got some 10,000 Maniacs playing.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Her album Tiger Lily on repeat. We got that, maybe a little REM. Just some like it's gonna feel like a college dorm in like 92. The way that we're standing around talking. Yeah. Porno for Pyros might come on at some point.
Chumbawamba,
U2. It'll be good. It'll be a nice vibe. It's gonna make people relax. It's not gonna be too amped up. There's not going to be a lot of energy around it. It's just going to be a lot of mellowing. It's going to be a mellow vibe.
Because you're out on the slopes. That's where you're burning the calories and really not being mellow. And then coming to your house and hanging out on the A-frame, this is time to kind of switch all that off and turn into it's mellow time.
Yeah, and this is conversation. It's not going to be for everybody. You may get bored. I want you to feel very comfortable just nodding off in your chair.
I like that. I mean, You and I are both men with kids. We're like, that just sounds fantastic. Just nodding off in a chair by myself after having a bowl of fettuccine. Yeah, I think I could pull
absolutely.
That off. I don't call that boring. I call that partying.
Just doze. That's all this is about. I want people. This is a true thing, John. I want my home, wherever I end up in life, to be a place that people, they just feel comfortable falling asleep. Like I want wherever they are. I don't care what we're doing, but if you're falling asleep, then I've achieved my goal. Like I want you to be comfortable enough in my home with me as a friend as well to just fall asleep. That's fine. I don't consider it an insult. I consider it such a compliment that you can fall asleep in front of me. Go for it.
Yeah, it's great hosting. It's good.
Yeah. Like I've worn you out.
It's great. I want to chill. I want to go to your house right now. And I've had coffee this morning and I still want to go take a nap at your house. So it's perfect.
Get over here, man.
Okay, take us to the, let's see. We still got to see bathroom.
You got to see the bathroom. It's not going to blow your mind. I'll be honest about it. It's practical over fancy. It does have 2 sinks. You come in, there's going to be a left and a right hand sink. We're not going to designate what it's for. Like you don't need to follow my guidelines of like, oh, this is for like, just this is for the kids, or this is for, real poop fingers. No, just wash your hands. We got a good soap. We got a nice, we got some of, it's the one from Trader Joe's that everybody likes. It's, what's it called? Trader Joe's soaps. I was using it just earlier today.
Trader Joe's frozen meatball soaps?
Yeah, that's it. What's that, Mrs. Brower's or Mrs. something?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. There's Dr. Bronner's, and there's the other one, the Mrs. Yes, I know what you're talking about, though.
We got that in there.
Yeah, okay.
It's like it's and it's not going to put us over the top. It's going to be like a $4 bottle of pump soap. It's no one's going to be. I had a friend who visited some friends at like this big nice house in Napa, and he came back and he was telling me about like their like $30 soaps in the guest bathroom, and I don't want that to be the takeaway from this trip. This is everything everything you see in my home. Yes, it's at a beautiful place, but this is not. If you really enjoyed this, you can go home and replicate my home in your home. That's what I want to achieve here. I don't want anyone. I'm not putting myself up on a pedestal. Or this is everything here you can buy on a very reasonable salary. That is what I would like.
That's the message. Inspiring fantasy house, because people come here and they go, "You can have this too."
Yeah, this is just. I am just like you guys. Aspirational. Is that it's aspirational without it being polarizing, or you can be like me and it's not hard. That's the message I'm trying to send.
So what other rooms do you have to show us? Because I feel like I want to see is there anything that is crazy and mind-blowing, or is there anything that's like, oh, people need to broaden their horizons to this kind of room in a house? Like where do you think that the next spot is to take us to?
Well, I got to tell you something. Is during
so I'm leaning into my microphone as if you're whispering into my ear.
during lockdown, it's our worlds have changed a little bit. We haven't been able to go out as much. People in the entertainment industry, we've all had to change some things. And one of my biggest hindrances I've found in Pasadena here is I don't have a great room to perform in. Like I don't have like a dedicated, like, I kind of have a kind of sort of office, but I don't have like my own comedy club, and that's what I do need. And so if you go down and open that door to your right there, John, open that door. There's a little creak. I got to put a little oil on the hinges there. Sorry about that. But let's go down the stairs. It's like you take 3 steps down.
Oh, yeah.
And you turn left and you're going to take 4 steps down. One of those kind of like little twisty turn, you guys.
Yeah.
Do you notice where you are? Do you see what that is? That's a stand-up comedy stage, John.
Yeah.
There's a stage. There's a spotlight. There's a mic. That mic's hot. I should have turned that off last night. I didn't. And it seats about 12 to 15 down there. And sometimes I'll put on there's some standing room in the back. But I put on little shows for the community, for those in Park City who want to come see this. I would just work out material out of my house, and everybody in town knows I live there. I'm not, I'm a bit of a local celebrity, but not like, it's not a big deal. You can say hi to me. It's like, like growing up in my town in Seattle, Eddie Vedder, he lived pretty close to where he drives a Jeep around town. Everybody sees Eddie Vedder. No one really bothers him. That's the vibe I want to have in Park City, Utah. I want to be.
Is Eddie Vedder in your stand-up club right now?
Eddie's not there. He's still in Seattle. He hasn't come out yet. But I want people to know they can. I don't want it to be every night. I don't want to bother my family, but once a week, like, Tuesday nights, you come over to Adam's house. He does a stand-up comedy show in the basement. He usually has some friends who are in town performing at the Salt Lake clubs or whatever, and he'll bring them up for guest spots. And it's a ton of fun. We'll do fundraisers there. And in general, it's just a good way to workshop material. And also during times like this, it's digitally set up so I can broadcast these shows anywhere in the world.
Oh, it's great. That's awesome. Dude, so great. So is that the last room?
That's it. It's a small little house.
I feel like as the credits, well, I didn't want to say it. Well, I kind of want to make sure it was the last room, but I feel like as the credits were rolling, like it would be you on stage and just me sitting down at one of the tables, like one of the, what do you call it, the 4 tops or whatever.
Yeah.
And you doing stand up just for me, like with that, obviously the credits are rolling. You can't really hear what you're saying, but I'm just watching.
Right.
in this, because that experience would be so wonderful, especially never craving it so much as I do right now during a pandy, just to be not even on stage, just be at a comedy club.
Just surround. Yeah,
I want so bad.
Man, I've had little flashback memories of like walking into like the bar at the Improv, and just like, 60, 70 strangers standing around talking to each other, and just me just like, oh, excuse me, and just like wading my way through the sea of people. Yes. And just how bizarre that feels right now. Just dude. People breathing all around me.
Oh, I know.
Just like I'm just putting my hands on shoulders just to like, pat. Hey, there's a guy I haven't seen in a while, giving you a little pat on the back. Just like just weird interactions. Jen Murphy giving weirdly big hugs.
Yeah.
And just like this. All right, this is normal life. And now it's now it just sounds like a horror movie to me right now.
I know. Oh, I've had the new going to school naked dream is I don't have a mask on, or I'm in an unsafe viral place, and I've never been like that. I've never been a germaphobe. So do you think that once, things settle down in the next couple of years, like that we'll go back to that and just be comfortable again, like stuffing ourselves into small little areas like that and being around a bunch of people breathing on us?
There's definitely it'll take time. It'll go back to normal, but I think they'll definitely, especially people like of our age, and those with children who we had to work extra hard to protect. I think this will stay with us for probably the rest of our lives in some way or another. I think I'll always have a mask in some way. I don't think I'm going to be wearing it 24/7, but I think I'll have a mask like in my back pocket or something, just to like pull out like, oh, that guy looks a little sketch, or I think we've all learned we don't like getting sick, and we didn't need to be getting sick, COVID or not. We just didn't need to be getting sick as much as we have been in our lives, because we just put ourselves into so much risk. And so like if I go into an elevator, or if I get into like a subway or something, I'll probably throw the sandwich shop, by the way, not the mode of transportation. I'll probably wear a mask, and I'll probably do that the rest of my life. I'm sure that opinion will change in time, but as of right now, I can't imagine a scenario where I don't.
I think my brother told me, like, he's like, dude, you will, just like a woman forgets childbirth so that she can move on. Like you will forget like the pain and weirdness of this event at some point, but there'll be little relics. But I wonder, I'm like, at what point do we like not have a mask? Like you said, like a mask in your back pocket is just going into like a cellar comedy kind of club thing where you're walking through people to get to stage seems insane now. And it never did before.
Yeah.
So I would take bong rips of people's breath. I have no problem. Where can people find you, dude?
They can find me on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Cozens 27. That's ADAMCOZENS, and my favorite number 27. Which, by the way, my newest daughter was born on November 27th. So that was just a nice little coincidence. Same thing on Instagram, Adam Cozens 27. And you can watch my hour special on Dry Bar Comedy called Anyway, Here's Adam Cozens. And it's pretty funny, and I enjoyed making it, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well.
Oh, awesome. Thanks so much for doing this, dude. So rad.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, John.
Dude, it's such a good time. # blessed guest. Guys, go ahead. Go follow Adam Cozens. Check out his special. And I mean, I guess the best way is just to go to his social media, subscribe, and then you'll be able to find links to everything you want. So Adam, ADAM, Cozens, COZENS. And then that number 27, because is a Jeremy Roenick fan. Oh, no, who was it? Chris Chelios was 27 from the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
All I know is like a couple hockey players' numbers and Michael Jordan. Other than that, I'm like, other numbers I don't know. But yeah, guys, check them out. And if this is your first time listening, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give us a review. We're up to 51 reviews now, or ratings.
Get it!
Oh, dude, I just want to get to 100 so bad. So freaking bad. And it just feels good just to see the number go up. I'm like, yeah, it just clicks up. You're like, another review, baby. My wife's like, shut up. Like, I'm just saying. You guys are amazing. Be silly, have fun, and be safe out there. And